What's going on, guys? Welcome, Members Room. My name is Alex, and on today's episode, we have Philip Panopoulos, who, with his brother, right after college, bought an already successful pizza shop locally, revamped it, and made it 10 times better. We get into sales, marketing, advertising, operations, and even get into a little bit of real estate as well. So, hope you enjoyed this episode. Well, Phil, I appreciate you coming on the podcast, man.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
We're went to high school together, stayed connected, and I think it was I saw your LinkedIn post when you sold the business,
Yes.
possibly, where I was like, that's a really cool story. So to bring it back, Pisa Pizza,
Pisa Pizza.
Pisa Pizza,
You got it.
in Countryside, you had you bought a pizza shop over
Correct.
there. Yeah.
Yes.
You want to get into the origin story?
Sure. I think it's best to start a little bit before the purchase of the business. I was 22, just graduated college, and my brother, we went in it together. He's 18 at the time, so 4-year difference. And I was coming off of a finance degree and a commercial real estate background. And the way that job worked out was I was a commercial debt broker, so it was very sales heavy. And being in Salt Lake and being 22 and working with these guys that have been in the industry for 10, 20, 30 years, it was really difficult for me to close sales. And so I was coming off of, the company's called Integrity Capital, by the way. I was coming off of like a rough run as my first job out of college. And so when I left them in June of 2022, I was really looking for another thing to do. And so, mind you, this company was a great company, smaller, family owned, really great core covenants, had a really great culture, but the job just wasn't for me. And so I really wanted to take those really good aspects of, like, this is a great culture. Like, we move really fast. Integrity's a big thing about what we do, and put that into another project. And so when Pisa Pizza came around, it was just a really great opportunity to do that.
Did you know you wanted to, maybe be more entrepreneurial after your job, or were you also looking at corporate jobs, also at the same time?
A little bit of both. I think I have a little bit of an adventurer spirit. I wouldn't say entrepreneurial, but this opportunity came by and I knew it was a good one to do next rather than a corporate job, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
It was more or less like the timing was right. I was coming off of, super sales heavy, couldn't get a grip, which was really hard on me, versus, wow, okay, there's a small business that's selling and it cash flows and I can pull a bunch of different levers and do all this cool stuff. Yeah, I'd love to do that next.
Were you a little worried because you've never been in food business? It's scary getting into something new, especially putting your hard-earned money into it.
Yeah.
And your time is the most important thing.
Yes.
So you're putting time and money into something you have no idea what you're doing.
Yeah.
So how did you balance that risk?
So I think it goes back to Integrity Capital. They just did things very, very well. But, my faith is strong in God. So I think just going into a new opportunity without fear and knowing what you're capable of and just focusing on what you're good at made it make sense.
So you kind of just had this underlying confidence where you're like, I trust in myself and what's going to happen next.
Yeah. And like you said, I have no culinary experience. I could barely make toast in college. Ramen was not coming out right. But you just have confidence in what you're good at. And I also, mind you, I had my brother too. So, we relied on each other, and the mix of both of our skills gave us enough confidence to kind of go ahead and purchase this business.
A bad partner is very detrimental to, partnerships in business, even relationships. Having a bad partner can really drag you down. How did you know your brother? You're like, could trust him. Obviously he's your brother, but some brothers don't work well in business too. You know, how did you guys know you were gonna work well together?
I think you kind of just know that you're going to work well. You know, I've known him my whole life, and like you said, sometimes it doesn't go well. This time it did. You know, when you're working with family, and we just worked well together. I think our combining our skills were good because I learned those skills from sales for briefly, and he is more of a reserved person, very analytical, and so the mix of that made it work out really nicely.
Yeah, because I was going to say, in every partnership, you can't really both have the same skill sets come to the table.
Right.
You kind of want someone who's going to complement you.
Exactly.
So what would you say your skill sets were at the pizza joint that your brother didn't have, and what did he have that you didn't have?
Sure. I think it mostly goes back to, yes, difference of skill sets, but when you ask that question, I think it's also pace of going through problems. He's a much more analytical approach and thinks about things slower and much, much more in depth, versus me, when I see a problem, it's like, I know exactly how to solve that problem. And so operationally is where my strengths were, to make things more efficient, less waste, how quickly can we get this pizza out to somebody? And his is higher level, deeper thinking problems. And so it's like, well, he's more of the why. Like, why are we doing this way when we could do something different? And so that sort of yin and yang worked out really nicely.
And how did this opportunity to buy this business fall on your lap out of nowhere? It's a great timing because you just graduated college too, and you were looking for what you're doing. How did that come about?
That's a great way to put it. It definitely did fall in our laps out of nowhere. I came home after graduation in 2022, and he was 18, so he just graduated high school. And the area that we live in has 11 or so pizza restaurants, one of them have been Pisa Pizza. And so coming back here to Chicago, just going to get a piece of pizza, why not? Because I grew up eating it. Just word got around that they were selling. And I talked to the original owner, I don't know if he came to me or I just spark up a conversation, but it turns out that they were selling, and that's how it kind of got my attention. It's like, okay, well, I have all this good stuff from my last job. Seems doable, and I like the pizza already. And so it kind of just, the conversation morphed into like, okay, does it cash flow? All this good stuff, what are you looking to sell it for, and all that.
Did you go to this place a lot growing up? Because it's in your neighborhood.
Yeah.
So,
a good amount. For Pizza Fridays, I know that's a thing here where we grew up, is just kind of having pizza on Friday nights, and we'd have Pisa Pizza.
Yeah.
I think almost every time. We wouldn't have it every Friday, but when we did, it was Pisa Pizza.
Because Chicago thin crust is huge, especially in our area where we grew up. Mm-hmm. Big market for it. So, like you said, Countryside, or the neighborhoods, Countryside LaGrange, where the shop's at, it can have 11 pizza shops and they can all do very well, right?
Right. Yeah. It's and I read something actually in middle school way before this, but LaGrange, Brookfield area has the most concentrated thin crust pizza restaurants per capita, definitely in the region, even compared to downtown. I could be wrong, or it could have changed, but that was a fact that I remembered during this acquisition. Mm-hmm. It was like, okay, the demand is high, but also the competition.
Now, getting to acquiring the business, did you go through a due diligence period? How involved were you in, dissecting if this is a good deal, running through the numbers? How much time did you spend to know, like, I want to pursue this in purchasing it?
Yes. Minimal.
Okay.
Minimal due diligence. And that's coming from just because I didn't know what I was doing. I knew what I knew, and that was the financial statements, P&Ls, balance sheets.
Which, you know what? I'm going to stop you there. I think that is a great thing sometimes, not knowing what you're doing.
Yes.
Because you're not as scared going into something. If you don't have the knowledge of what you're going into, and you're just going on a whim, you're more likely to pursue that, whatever it is,
Yep.
you know,
Yep.
because you don't know the downfalls.
You don't know what to be afraid of.
Usually you know what the upsides are, but you don't know what to be afraid of until you get in there, right?
Exactly.
So continue.
Exactly. So I knew how to read the, financial statements that they had. Granted, some of them were pencil and paper. This is a mom and pop shop that's been around since, in this location, the mid 1990s. Pisa Pizza started in 1982, but here in Countryside since the mid 1990s. So I knew how to read the financial statements. I knew that it was cash flowing, but everything else I did not know. So it looked like it was a good deal at the time. In hindsight, I do think that I may have, that we may have overpaid for it, what we paid for, but that's part of the process of being an entrepreneur.
Yeah. Did you know going in the value that you could provide during that minimal due diligence period? Did you know if I change this, if I do this, we'll be able to flip it down the line?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And so the main things that kind of stuck out to me that we could fix right away was some of the equipment was 20 years old. Okay. So that needed to be changed. Nobody's swept in maybe 3 months.
Swept the floors?
Swept the floors.
Wow.
So that's going to change.
Yeah.
And granted, that doesn't tie directly into, okay, this is a value. This is something that we can add value to, but it does when you have a staff and you're growing a staff. You want to keep things clean. You're kind of selling the restaurant for them to work here. So you don't want a pile of flour that's crusty on the floor in the back.
Yeah.
Right. So there's those things like that. I would say, to your question, the biggest thing that we could add value in was the price point. So this is Pisa Pizza was a mom and pop small location and high volume at a lower price. And so the price was, I think if my numbers are correct, maybe close to 20% below the next competitor. And our competitor in the area, I think, was directly probably Lido's. Great pizza, great people.
Great spot. I love
Lido's.
Lido's.
Great people. But our price point was, they hadn't price adjusted in maybe 8 years. So it was 2022, the mid 2010s is when they last changed the prices. So that can go up.
And you had a smaller footprint, right? Because was there seating? I don't believe there was seating, right? It just kind of come pick up or delivery.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It was high volume at the time, was a much too low of a price. No seating, pick up and delivery.
It's
only.
really just you have a kitchen, you're pushing out pizzas.
Yeah.
So you're able to save, unlike Lido's, who's got all that real estate, they got to pay property taxes, everything, servers, all that stuff. That's where you're able to arbitrage the price on saving that cost.
Right. Even on the infrastructure too. So when you have people in a restaurant, you then have to account for fire suppression systems. And there's a number of other things that I didn't have to deal with, but I know it's things like that. There's different permits that you kind of have to deal with when you are putting seating. Customers staying in the restaurant makes things a little bit more complicated. Then you got to account for, if you're going to have a waiter or not, or if you're just going to pick up at the counter, but then somebody's got to clean up the tables.
Yeah.
So it's a lot more bloated if you do have people. And that was one of the things that I liked about Pisa Pizza. It was high volume and in and out, just cranked pizzas.
Yeah. It's kind of like, those ghost kitchens they're coming out with now.
Mm-hmm.
It's just the kitchen, all delivery.
Yeah.
Not even pickup, just strictly deliveries.
Right.
Which is great.
Very similar.
Yeah. So take me through day one. You just purchased it. Sure. You don't know you just poured this money into this business that you know nothing about.
Yeah.
The very limited due diligence. You and your brother, did the previous owners kind of ease you into it?
Yes.
It wasn't as scary because you had the previous owners.
Yeah. They did exactly that. I'll back up a little bit because I think it could be important to some of the listeners you have here. The way we financed the acquisition was seller financing. And what made the deal even sweeter, not having to get an SBA loan or, going to a banker and going through all that red tape, was that the original owner had sold it a couple years prior to us to, I believe it was his daughter and a couple other partners. And so those partners is who we purchased it from. But when the original owner from 1982 sold it to them, he didn't want to gouge them in, interest, because look, it's his daughter, and I mean, anybody can understand that. And so when they went to sell, me and my brother were like, well, can we keep this seller finance note and just pay your equity out of the 3 partners? And so the original guy was like, yeah, I don't care. I just want to get paid. And so on that note, it happened to be a 1% interest.
Wow.
So it was borderline free money.
Yeah.
And so we paid the partners out of their equity and kept that 1% note every month.
Wow.
Yeah.
And getting back to it, when you walked in day one,
Mm-hmm.
the previous owner, the daughter,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't know if the other partners were involved on the operations side, but they came in and kind of showed you how they operate everything, and were you kind of like
Yeah. So
sick to your stomach, like this is a lot of work?
yeah, we did have a trial run before we signed our contract of, I think it was a week and a half, 2 weeks, where I was actually moving my stuff away from Utah, and my brother was here working for about 2 weeks, just how to make the pizza and what it's like. And he was like, yeah, it's totally fine. But what we did write in the contract was a period of, I think it was 60 days, where they had to stay here and sort of onboard us and offboard them with the operation. So it was contractual, and we still paid them for their time after they sold to us. But I think that's a necessity. Any sort of small business you buy is that sort of onboarding and offboarding. Previous owner definitely has to stay and show you how to do it for a little while.
And once that 60 days was up, were you then a little scared because now you're on your own?
More excited, less scared.
Oh, okay.
Because within those 60 days, you caught on fast. Or at least me and my brother did.
You're excited to just get the ball rolling and start doing everything yourself.
This is your project.
Yeah.
This is your project. And what made it even sweeter for me was I spent the last 9 months just cold calling, right? Trying to broker this commercial debt to people I didn't know. Here, I'm making a sale, hundreds of sales a day. It's like, what a difference that is. What a boost that is. And I'm making our margin every single pizza that walks out the door. So it's like, okay, time to go. Like, this is so fun. This is incredible based on what I experienced before.
What were the top red flags you saw when you first walked in that you're like, this, we have to change this day one? Like, once they're out of here, we're changing it.
Culture was brutal. The way the employees kind of were there and the type of employees were there weren't great. So that was, I think, the biggest flag and the biggest thing we needed to change after that 60 days. We come in and, I saw a couple employees that were just making their own pizza and then eating it on the clock, kind of didn't ask anybody, didn't ask me or my brother or whoever was supervising, and they just made their own pizza. And so we're like, hey, you guys can't do that. Like, we'll figure something out, but you can't just like go in and take the product. And so right away, and we also called out, you can't be picking the pepperonis and just, throw it in your mouth. You can't do that, guys. You can't do that. And so
you got to have systems in place. That was probably huge,
rules.
Right? Putting systems in place that weren't in place before.
Yeah, and I was going to get to that too.
SOPs and all that
stuff. SOPs, yeah.
Yeah.
None of that was there. And so the second we're like, hey guys, you can't really just eat whenever you want. 2 people quit right away.
Wow.
And so we started enforcing,
when you told them they couldn't make their own pizzas, they left.
Gone.
Yeah. Make them more free pizzas.
Yeah, but it's a win-win, right? So like they're there to eat the pizza and kind of lounge and get paid. So when that changed, they left. They're going to find that somewhere else.
They were going to leave anyways. They're letting themselves out the door. It's the best.
And for
scenario.
us, we're building a new team that's honest and, we'll go by the standards that we want to have. Yeah. So it was a win-win. It's not, you can't look at it like, oh my gosh, like they left. Like, they left for a good reason. Mm-hmm. And so I think changing the people was a huge, slow process, over time, but a huge benefit to us being successful was having better employees there.
How was your hiring processes?
So that was rocky at the beginning too. I can remember.
Like, what to look for in people at certain positions?
Oh yeah. Yeah. And, we look for really 3 things, and it was granted, in the grand scheme of things, this is a small pizzeria, but we're going to run it like it's Fortune 500.
You got to run every business, no matter if you have 1, 10, like you have 1,000 locations.
Correct.
That's how you got to run every single one.
Correct.
Systems, and we'll get into that.
Correct.
Soon. Yeah.
And so we were looking for, even if it's just a line cook or a dishwasher, you have to be hungry to work, humble, and smart. And those are the three that we really wanted to look for. And
smart's probably the least important out of all of them. If you get someone hungry that just wants to put their head down and work, that's like with good character.
Yeah.
That's all you want.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And so it took a while to kind of get our own footing on how to read people. There's a lot of psychology in it. And then with the process too, for the scale that we were at, there's some online, not ZipRecruiter, but like other sort of methods of getting people in the door. It goes back to being just a numbers game. So if we would put out an ad, like, look, we need a line cook on Friday, Saturday, and then, Wednesday afternoons, we'd get 15 inquiries, 15 resumes, and then we kind of whittle it down. So like, okay, who actually has food experience? And then we whittle it down. And then we got 3-4 people come in the door and we pick the best one. So, and that's pretty standard for any sort of recruiting, but it took a little bit of us to kind of feel that out and just read people better. For sure.
Were there any other big issues?
Yes. I mentioned cleanliness was a big one. I like to keep things clean myself, and I just say, we bought this restaurant. It's so dirty.
That's crazy. 3 months without sweeping the floor?
Something like that. When we swept, one of the previous partners came in the next day, and they're like, wow, did you guys sweep? We're like, yeah, man, there's flour everywhere. And they're like, wow, it's
such a small thing to do that you're waiting 3 months.
Yeah. It was just, I'll talk good about everybody. There's no point, especially being a Christian. You don't want to, it's not godly to talk bad about people, but the way it was managed, this business before we bought it, was just mismanaged, including not cleanliness, including just eat the pizza whenever you want. So we walked into that, and that was just part of it being mismanaged.
Which those are the best businesses to buy, because you're the one coming in, putting those processes in, adding the value.
Yes.
How important are SOPs, and what kind of SOPs did you implement?
It's very important if you want to be hands-off.
Standard operating procedure.
Yes. Yeah. Standard operating procedures is kind of like the instructions of how to do things in a business for different employees, different levels of roles. And it is very important if you want to be hands-off. The clearer your job aids are and your instructions are, the more you can step back and let it run, right? If you're hitting the points on an instruction board to put 8 pepperonis in this order, you don't have to be there and tell them. They can just look up and see it, and you put it and you mimic it and you keep going. So they're very important.
So you implemented all of those right when you came in. You knew that's one thing you you knew that's one thing you wanted to do.
Yeah. Yeah. And we also wanted to build and fix Pisa Pizza in Countryside to be a model for a potential franchise down the line. So really early on, we wanted to trial run these SOPs and see, can we duplicate this? In Countryside, the sink is oriented this way in the back of the kitchen. If I have an instruction that says, put the dishes in this order, scrub this way, rinse this way, and put them in this order, is that going to be the same if we have one in Brookfield or Oak Park or other locations? So it's we're kind of forward thinking and trying to keep that in mind as we write these things.
Yeah, I was going to say, because a lot of people have SOPs that are super simple for washing your hands, how to wash your hands. How niche of SOPs did you get to? What was really, you got a procedure for that?
Yeah.
Someone would question
yeah,
why there's a procedure.
We didn't get too niche because we throttled it a little bit. If it's too specific, you start to slow down. And the way this restaurant's run is all speed and quantity. So it was a bit of a balance to that question. We couldn't be we couldn't be ultra specific, because when it's 8 p.m. on a Friday and you've got 4 phone calls that are coming in, you got 4 lines, 2 people are on hold because we had 2 phone setups. You can't just be, and you're not going to hit it. Even if you have something ultra specific and it's rush hour and there's, 100 orders that need to go out, you're going to not meet those procedures. So it was best to kind of have it specific enough to where the product comes out the same and the experience is the same every time, but not enough to be like give you a headache or, it's a mix of both.
Was there any times where employees weren't following directions that you kind of had to let them go?
Yeah, there was. I could tell you this one story on the negative side, and then I could tell you another funny story about someone not following directions. But yeah, we've had to let people go, and that was a big thing to do when you're 22 and 18 years old, and you've got people working for you who are 40, 50 years old, and this is one of their only sources of income. And so it took a lot to do that when we had to. We had one delivery driver that was in a rough position financially, but we hired her because she had great experience and it was an easy, smooth, just deliver the pizzas. She had so much experience for it. So it was a good hire, but she was late for orders and late to show up enough to make it an impact on our customers to complain. And so we did the best we can to kind of give her time, and we let her know, like, look, you got to kind of do better. And when we did come to the conclusion that we had to let her go, it was rough. It was very emotional on her part, more angry. But I mean, I know that's just an effect of her being in a position that she is financially, and it was really hard. And we really tried to like keep her, but that was a big growing opportunity that me and my brother had, or something. That was tough, I'll tell you. And there was a couple other times where, just the industry that I was in a small pizza joint, you're going to get people that, are just in bad spots in life. And it's tough when you have to let them go. It was tough. Yeah, for sure. It was tough. On the other side, we had a couple high schoolers work for us, or a number of them. And so, we were enforcing, you can't snack on the food, right? Bacon was one of our toppings. And so I was waiting for one of these guys to come back in the kitchen. We kind of had like two kitchens the way we were set up. And he was just taking too long. And I was like, I'm not going to say his name, but really good kid, like really, really good kid. And I'm just like, where is this guy? So I go back to he's supposed to be cutting up this bacon, and I go back to him and I'm like, I kind of peep my head in this other room. I'm like, hey, like, are you done? We got to make these pizzas with this bacon. And he just nods his head. I was like, he usually says something. So I go and I look at him and his mouth is cheek full of bacon, just eating bacon.
What?
I'm like, I held myself from not laughing because, look, this is a standard that we have to hold. But the way this guy turned around was just like,
it's like so blasphemous. You're like,
yeah,
I can only just laugh. Right
yeah.
now.
Like I would get angry almost every time, but like the way he turned around and just he couldn't even speak. He had so much bacon in his mouth. I'm like, just chew it up. But like, I kind of, I told him after, just like, you can't be doing that. But so funny in the moment.
Yeah.
He couldn't even speak. He had so much bacon in his mouth.
What were your priorities? What were your top priorities coming in day one, first month or two, in the business?
Would you say priorities or goals or what?
Both, sure.
Goal, definitely don't go out of business.
Yeah.
Was month one.
That's like the base. That's like
base. Yeah. Do you want to hear like financial goals or
anything, whatever? Like you come in and you're like, this is what we got to do first day, or the first month we got to solve this, fix this, improve this, whatever it is.
Yeah, I think part of what we wanted to do right away was start a longer term thing, which is making pizzas come out faster. And so a lot of it was looking first and just first month, just feeling how and seeing how things worked in the kitchen. So if you've never made a pizza before, you're going to want to start with the dough, also known as a crust. And then obviously the sauce comes next. And the way we did it, all the ingredients go under the cheese. So then you go ingredients, cheese, into the oven, comes out of the oven, you cut it and you box it, and then you give it out. So it was really watching where the bottlenecks were in that process. And so we started at day one and we're like, we want to find out what is going to give us the best impact what we're going to change that's going to give us the best impact to lower the pizza output that takes 9 minutes to make down to 6 minutes or lower. And we end up changing it down to 6 minutes. And that was the fastest that we can make it. And so I think just day one is just like seeing what we can change and where the bottlenecks were to kind of do that as months go on. Yeah. Oh, I'll tell you another part that we need to change right away. The point of sale, also in this industry, POS, the computer, we just used, previous owners used a computer from pre-2000, so it had the big back, right? And it was black, white, and blue screen, okay? The software is called DOS, Microsoft DOS, DOS. It was pre-Windows. And so the way we took orders was, for example, if it was a cheese pizza, you do C, enter, 1, enter, and then enter again. And then you're coding. Every time you're on the phone, you're coding.
It looks like you're coding something.
Correct.
Right? Yeah.
It's exactly
like one
what
of those old 80s, 90s, like when you're coding, the black and white.
Yep.
Like, yeah.
On the phone. So you're on the phone with the customer and you're going click, 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 click. And then, oh wait, backspace, backspace, backspace. You wanted half pepperoni. So that's P2, C1, P2. And so there's like, they had all these instructions of these codes of how to make a pizza depending on what the customer asked for. So like chicken is like, I think CK as a side. Even it was insane how old this thing was. And we'd have like blackouts every now and then where the computer just stopped working.
You have to start doing hand.
Yeah, just hand. Yep, yeah. Exactly. And so that needed to change right away. And it took a little bit though, because we wanted to be very precise on like what point of sale software we're going to use. You know, Toast is big out there, Square is big, but we went with a more data friendly software. You know, Toast tells you that they're going to keep all, you know, they'll show you all the data, but you know, we found a software, I think it was called Soft Touch. They kept so much data on every order. It was really nice. Also no monthly payment. So it was a one-time fee.
Nice.
So that was a big one, but yeah, other than the cleanliness, it was the point of sale that needed to change right away. Cause that thing was ancient.
Yeah. Adding on to that, the choosing a POS system that acquires the data, super important, because when you have the data in any business, then you know like either where your bottlenecks are, where you can improve, who's ordering, are people ordering more pepperoni or sausage? What do you try to push out more?
Exactly. And it broke it down by time too. So on a Friday, Saturday, you can see.
So super specific.
So specific. It's almost, well, I'm not gonna say every data point because I'm sure there's other data that didn't capture, but it's like we sold 18 large pizzas at 5:30 on a Saturday. And then we look at every single week, it's like 16 to 21 every Saturday. So what we do is the following.
Helps with purchasing too.
It does.
A lot.
It does. When during business hours, it's like, okay, we're going to roll out 20 large pizzas at 5:15. So then when those orders come in around 5:30, you just whip out those crusts and you start making those pizzas because you already know what's going to happen. And so it's more proactively, like the data told us like what to do proactively. And so it really just made things so much faster.
That helped with the cook time, getting the pizzas out faster.
Exactly.
What were the other changes you made within the processes of making the pizza to improve from 9 minutes to 6 minutes?
Yeah. So I will say, since this business had been around for 30 plus years, a lot of the groundwork for being efficient was already done, which was a huge plus. And we knew that buying it, that it's already fast to make a pizza. What it took was just moving food items around physically. So it's like, if you can save like a second and a half reaching underneath the prep table for ricotta cheese here, you know, if we just move it down the line a little bit, because it typically goes right below the cheese and above the other ingredients, it will save half a second. So it's like just moving things around and reorienting physically where the door opens to the dough, the dough balls. And then, you know, putting aside those really niche toppings like sauerkraut, which is a story in itself. And it's just different placement of things sped it up by almost 3 minutes. Small things like that were the biggest.
Did you have a guarantee of when you wanted deliveries to be from placing order to at your door? Did you guarantee? Was there a guarantee like 30 minutes or a money back or something?
No, we wouldn't do that just because for other reasons. We didn't do like a money back guarantee on deliveries, but what we would do is we kind of overpromise and then, underpromise, overdeliver.
Underpromise, overdeliver.
So we'd tell them 45 minutes and almost every time we'd get there in like 30 or 35.
Yeah.
So like if it is Friday and it's super busy, if it gets there in 45 minutes, perfect. That's what you were told. It comes easier. If it comes quicker, oh, wow.
That's a great piece of advice for life.
Yep.
Overpromise, or what is it? Underpromise,
overdeliver.
Underpromise, overdeliver. That's what I learned. If you always tell somebody it's going to take longer than it actually will, because they'll love you after.
Yeah.
For any pizza business, food, anything, delivery, even if it's like an hour and a half and it comes in an hour 15, I'm like, that's awesome. Like, it came earlier than it was supposed to. You know?
Yeah.
People love that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
With your distribution, because I'm in food distribution. How did you keep the same suppliers that you had before, or were you kind of shopping around prices for different products, different suppliers?
We kept the same suppliers throughout the whole time, mainly because that relationship that the original owner had with the supplier was still so strong that, you know, he had discounts on a lot of things like tomatoes, mushrooms, green peppers. We didn't do a whole lot of shopping because we wanted to keep that relationship, and it benefited us down the line with, you know, a lot of the marketing. Really just the food products, like the boxes. Like the custom boxes came from our main food supplier.
Did you implement that yourself?
Yes.
That the previous owners did not have private boxes?
No.
Okay.
No. And that was a big thing. I mean, if you want to talk about marketing at some point, but we kept the same food supplier the whole time because it was a good established relationship from the original guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And your whole rebranding process, how was that? What were the key components to rebranding that you focused on?
Yeah, that was exciting for me. My brother would call it arts and crafts time. When
'Cause you're more so of a creative, right? You like that kind of stuff.
I say I lean more on the creative side, and my brother would call it arts and crafts time when we're at home and he's working on his stuff and I'm doing like Adobe Illustrator for different logos and stuff. How was the rebranding? It was super fun. Really enjoyed it. The boxes was a big point that I wanted to do too. That was like a goal I had. We actually did. So I'm a sucker for like Easter eggs. So on the two sides of the boxes, right and left, if you're facing it, it's a bunch of stars, like the Chicago star, and I whited out the red, and I whited out 2 stars, one for me and one for my brother. So I was like, okay, yeah, you know.
Wow, yeah.
I mean, my brother, it's our business. And then I did the Chicago skyline as a ridge on the top and the bottom.
And this was all you. You did all the design, everything. Yeah. Nice.
Yeah. And one of the buildings, it's pretty much the Chicago skyline with the Sears Tower and Trump Tower and John Hancock. But one of them I put on an angle, and you can tell if you can see it, like the Pisa Pizza, like the Pisa Tower.
Uh-huh.
So it's like it's in the box, and it's like Pisa's in Chicago.
Yeah. Oh, that's interesting.
And I love that. And at the bottom too, me, you know, I'm a Christian, so I really liked In-N-Out, the way they do scripture on some of the food products, and same with Chick-fil-A. I think they do it, but we ended up putting Romans 10:9 at the bottom of the pizza boxes, just printed on there, and it's. Do you mind if I read it?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, cool. Yeah. We just basically, we put it at the bottom of the pizza box. So it's like when you're walking out of the restaurant, it's like you got your hand like on the Word of God, you know, like you're connected with the Word of God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah. But Romans 10:9 goes, if thou shalt confess with your mouth Jesus is Lord, and shall believe in your heart that God raised him from the dead, you shall be saved. And that was a scripture I had on my business card for that commercial job I had. So I was like, I want to put this on the pizza box. So that was super fun for me. Even with the sweatshirts, I'm sure the peanut gallery is going to say like, this is kind of too big for me. I ran out of larges. So I grabbed an extra large. So that's all I had left. But even going off the Easter egg point. So I don't know if it's one of the shirts I had on the logo, we would put a P at the top of the Pisa Tower. One of them, I just put a D because my brother's name is Dom.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, okay. Because the Pisa Pizza is my initial. It's like, I'm going to put a D in one of the logos for him. Yeah. So like, nobody's going to see it, but it's like, I know it's there. And he knows it's there. And so like the box is implemented. We've got ancillary forms of sales with, clothing and merch. That was a big change for the customers, even the new logo. And it was a big positive change. They liked it. It all really worked out, and I'll say this point too. So I also kind of get into the details. My brother's super big picture. I mean, I was getting to the point where I'm looking up which type of red is most appetizing. So I'm like, what's the hex code? Like, stars or hashtag, F8, whatever.
It's psychologically, companies choose colors on their logos.
Yep.
For different psychology. Like, for example, Rolex, they have green because green shows like more upper class, I guess, as a color.
Yep.
So that's why they have it for Rolex, because they sell to higher echelon clients, stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah. And I was in that same mindset. Red, our colors were red, black, and white, which pops the most to the human eye, but we inherited that from Pisa Pizza. Like, they always were red, black, and white. But I wanted to tweak the red. This is the rabbit hole I got down to. It was like, I want to tweak the red so that if you glance at it for like a half a second, that it's the most appetizing red you're ever going to see. And then you're going to go to Pisa Pizza and you're going to order a pizza. And that wasn't very productive, the amount of time I spent on that.
Yeah.
So I ended up just trying to color match it to the color of our sauce, like the same tone, and went with it that way.
Yeah.
So, but it was fun doing it too. Like, that's what I enjoyed. And even if it wasn't the most productive, it was fun.
Because in business, you got to find out what items you want to prioritize. What's the most important thing I should do with my time at this second?
Yep. And that's big.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You did that a lot.
Yeah.
You did a lot, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what other marketing tactics did you use to kind of bring more customers in? Sure. Obviously, it's local. It's not like you're selling to people in Utah or whatever.
Yeah.
So what locally did you do to help market to bring new customers in? Because obviously you had a clientele that was very loyal, that's been buying for the past 30 years. How did you get the new guys in?
The new guys came in easier because our existing customer base was 30 years old plus. So the simplest solution to that was Facebook ads and Instagram ads for local pizza. They didn't have anything running. They had a little bit of Google ads running, but it never really drew too many people. So Facebook ads and Instagram ads were huge. It just had a huge effect right away.
Did you learn how to do it yourself? Or did you hire somebody?
We were doing it ourselves.
How did you learn? Because how to optimize those kind of ads, it takes a lot of time to learn how to really get it right. So you're not wasting your money on the ads,
Yeah.
So how did you learn how to do that?
That would be a question for my brother. He was kind of spearheading that.
Mm-hmm.
And it did take time. You're correct in that. It did take time to kind of tweak and get right. But it worked out well, I guess is what I can say. It worked out well with the Facebook ads. That's more of his department.
Yeah. Did you do any SEO?
Yeah.
Search engine optimization, where if you look at pizza nearby, pizza's coming up first.
Yes, we did a little bit of that. That we did hire out specifically SEO to a somewhat regional SEO company that we worked with. It was semi-fruitful in our experience. I think if you're into ads enough that you could do it yourself, I don't think what we paid gave us the most. I don't think it was worth it what we paid, but we did do a little bit of that, and we gained some customers that way.
And one of the most important things for restaurants, we talked about this off camera. When I go to a new city and I'm looking for a restaurant, whatever it is, I always look for 4.5 stars and up Google ratings. How important were ratings to you guys? What was it before, after, how did you optimize trying to get the best ratings? Did you have a incentive system where if they gave you a rating, they got something, or you shot them a text, please rate? How did that work?
Yes.
And how important are ratings to you?
I agree with you. They were very important coming from restaurant industry. We came in with the ratings at, I think it was 4.6 or 4.7, but a ton of ratings. Business has been around forever. We wanted to obviously keep that or boost that. And so when we bought it, we were at a 4.7, let's say. We ended up selling the business at a 4.8. So we did go up a little bit. The business now, I think, we're at a 4.0, but we can talk about that later, the changes that they went forward with. But very important, especially in the restaurant business. We came in contact with a software that would text the customer after they ordered pizza and just say, hey, how did you like the pizza? How did you like the experience? And if they were to say, oh, it was great, 4.5, boom, they're going to automatically throw that on Google. And so now we got another 4.5 rating. If the pizza came and it was cold or it was the wrong pizza, wrong topping, whatnot, and they say, oh, it's a 3.0, I didn't really enjoy my experience, the software would take that review and just put it like in a little inbox for me to kind of chat with them. Be like, oh, hey, it's so sorry. The pizza came not what you expected. Like, how can we do better? And then they tell us how to do better. And then we do better next time. Because the way the system was, it was super interesting. It would keep the contact of that customer, and it would tell us if it was a repeat customer, and it would tell us when they order again so we can watch it. Like, okay, we're going to do better next time. And so that was really fruitful for us to have, we kind of captured those negative reviews publicly and addressed them privately, and just throughout for everybody to see the positive ones.
Because reviews, the whole point of reviews is, to make your business better. What are you doing wrong that you're not seeing that customers can, help you with? I think one of the funny things, and I forgot who said this, but if a customer complains about something, if you get just as mad about it or even more mad than they are about it, they'll be like, actually, it's not that big of a deal, know? And it'll kind of diffuse them and how they feel about your business, right? Because like if someone's like, oh, I didn't like the pizza, it was terrible, like, oh my God, that is so bad, I'm so sorry, never having, you're like, oh, it's not that big of a deal actually. And it kind of diffuses the situation. Did you have customers come in person like, this order's wrong, like what the hell is going on?
I believe we have.
And how do you deal with it? Like really pissed off customers.
You just gotta know that you gotta kind of act that, you gotta show that you care. I wouldn't say act. That's, because you do care. This is, as I mentioned before, like this is your baby. Like you want to do the best you can with this restaurant. My brother was really good at that. He was very good at diffusing the situation. I want to say, I also kind of erased some of those negative things from my mind over the years, so it's hard to think back, but I guess I got to answer by just saying, like, my brother was really good at just being calm and diffusing the situation when a customer is mad. There wasn't a whole lot, thank God, but you just kind of be nice to them, be candid with them, and just say, like, yes, this was on us, like, you're 100% right, your pizza had wrong toppings, I'm terribly sorry, we're gonna make you a new one. Always, I guess, to answer that, always make them a new one. Always make them a new one
for free.
100%. 100%. We would do free delivery, depending if it was a delivery, free delivery next time. They had a weird system that we inherited, that in that Microsoft DOS software, you can put like a credit. So like, let's say the pizza gets there and it's not up to what their standards were or what they wanted to see. You can put in a note tied to their phone number that just says, hey, like $20 off the next order. And so when they call again next week, you can see that note, but then it was like a weird like math that it did, and it never always tracks. So like sometimes these customers would have $20 off for the next like 6 orders. And it was just like, okay, we got to change this. But long story short, always make them another pizza right away, put it in the front of the line. And that's if they come in. No question.
Now, another thing, switching it up a little bit, another thing going into purchasing a new restaurant, pizzeria, you, in any kind of business as well, you want to prioritize, trying to sell higher margin items. You have a loss leader, which is very low margin, but people come in for that to kind of attract them in, and then you sell them the higher margin items on the higher margin items, kind of as an add-on to that.
Yes.
Did you cut down the menu a lot? Cut down the low margin items? Try to push out the high margin items more? How did that work?
We did. The menu was very bloated when we came in. There's a whole lot of just weird sides that just never left the menu. They new and creative, but they
You're
should
selling like one a week or something.
Yes. One of them was cheese, like melted cheese, like nacho cheese, as like a side dip. If one a week, if that. So that was axed right away. And the problem with a bloated menu is that not only that you don't sell it, things go bad over time. And so if it's sitting in the fridge, the food is just going to go bad. It's not going to be as fresh. You're also taking up space in your walk-in cooler, in your refrigerators for food that just doesn't sell. So it was really important for us to shorten up the menu. And it was a slow process just because these customers have been around for 30 years. If it is that one customer that's been around for 20 that likes the nacho cheese, once we do take it off the menu, he's going to be upset. So it was slow to kind of like eventually get to a smaller menu. And we were working on it up until we sold. I will say that we could have gone even slimmer of a menu to be more efficient.
Because I think some of the best restaurants are the ones that have like 3 items they focus on. Be great at that and just push those out in volume.
Yep.
And that's what you did with pizza. You try to prioritize selling as many pizzas as you can. Obviously, it's a pizza shop.
Correct.
What were some of the high margin items that you did have?
Sure. We never had anything that stood out that was super high margin. Our pizzas had really good margin in general. We didn't have a loss leader.
Roughly, what is a pizza margin? Like 20, 30%?
30.
30? Okay.
Yeah. Yes, 30. And so we never had anything that was a loss leader per se, but we would draw them in from the pizza. And I know we charged a ton for chicken wings, kind of because we have to, because chicken's expensive. But I think our margin was good on chicken. And it was more of a inverse loss leader, maybe just the opposite of it.
Yeah. And you did direct delivery, so people would call into your shop specifically. But did you also add in Uber Eats, DoorDash, all the apps?
Yeah, that's a good story.
And what percent of sales came from apps compared to calling in?
Yes. Still majority came from calling directly. Goes to the customer base. That was the demographic, right? They're older. They're just going to call the pizza shop and order delivery, right? That was the bulk of our customers. Uber Eats we had, Grubhub we had. Slice was huge. Slice is a niche pizza ordering platform. And we actually had our best rating on Slice above Google. I think we were at like a 4.9, which is great. And so I think we had a total of 4 third-party ordering platforms. And I want to say, because it's been a while, I want to say it was about 20% of sales.
Okay.
That mostly occurred on the weekends. During the week, it was like all phone calls.
Wow.
Give or take. And we had our in-house delivery drivers. We did try using DoorDash delivery. That was a train wreck. It may have been new back in 2022, 2023, but it was a train wreck in terms of communicating with DoorDash, because it's always just a customer service line when the guy didn't show up, and then it's like, then our customer gets upset for your fault.
It's not their issue, it's your issue.
Yeah. So we didn't pursue that, but we did have a presence on all those third-party apps.
And what other, to go back to the capital improvements you made, what were some of the, did you wait because, you just bought a business, poured all this money in. Did you kind of wait for some of the bigger things to put in?
Yep.
Like a new cooler, whatever it was. And how long were those processes of putting in new capital improvements to the facility? Yeah,
it took a little while. We did move slow on that. We moved as fast as we could, which ended up being slow, just to accrue cash for that. Biggest improvement was a cheese grater that was automatic, kind of. So we'd shred our cheese shredder. we would use the dough mixer, Hobart, if you're in the industry. Hobart's a big name for, you got whatever soak gallon, you mix the dough. We used an attachment that would push and shred the cheese, but we ended up buying a cheese shredder on its own that was modular. Saved so much time. Like I talk about a lot about the time of making the pizza to give the customers. You also have prep time too.
Cutting up everything.
Yeah. And so that saved so much. It probably saved an hour and a half. Like it would take an hour and a half to shred this cheese. It probably took 20 minutes to shred the cheese for the week.
Wow.
Yeah. And we were moving 400 pounds of cheese per week, over 400 pounds. So it's like we saved so much time doing that. So yeah, it took a little bit to get that. Another big one was a brand new prep table. I don't want to out myself, but like the prep table that we inherited was like leaking. And so there's like this like soupy water at the bottom of this prep table. And we'd have to like clean this out like the first couple months.
What was the cleanliness rating that they got before you bought the place? Like the grounds weren't swept. You got the pool of liquid. What was it like a C or something? Like
no. Oh, like in the window through the
like
city.
The one they put in the window with the city.
No, we passed. They passed.
Really?
Yeah, they passed.
Wow.
I'll leave it as that.
They probably swept right before.
Yeah.
That's the only time they swept through the year.
Got the water out right before. Yeah. Some of that equipment. And total capital expenditure I think was about 25-ish thousand for all the equipment, I want to say.
Mm-hmm. And did you put in a new cooler?
New cooler, yes. New dough cooler, which is a big plus.
Mm-hmm. So now what transitioned in your head about franchising it? Because obviously you ended up selling the business. Mm-hmm. Why did you choose to go that path instead of, you put all these systems in, everything. Why didn't you franchise it like you wanted to initially?
Sure. Yeah. So like I said, the mindset that we were doing was to make everything as fast and duplicatable as possible, which helped us when we did sell. The question is, why did we end up going that route? Spending so much time on the front end, or the first, 8-9 months, probably close to 10 months, being around the flour, my brother ended up, because flour's in the air, right? If you've ever been in a pizza restaurant, it's like, it's dusty, it's flour in there. His lungs ended up getting semi-infected. And so like when he breathes in, it would sound like popcorn lung. And so he would have to like not show up some days, and he was feeling bad physically. And so I didn't want to do it without my brother. And we obviously wanted to franchise, but that idea was kind of fading a little bit, and we could just put it up for sale again. And so we did weigh those options for about a month. We hired a consultant that was in the realm of franchising, and he gave us some data about it. And that's a whole different topic. It wasn't the best deliverables that he gave, but we really did, and it was doable, right? We could have done it franchise, but I didn't want to do it without my brother. And once your body kind of takes a hit like that, you kind of lose mentally your interest in it. So that's what kind of led us to, okay, let's just see what we can get for it.
For sure. And how was the selling process? Because selling a business for the first time it's a whole new thing,
Absolutely. I learned so much more selling than buying. The selling process was quicker than I thought. And are you looking for anything specific on the selling process?
Did you hire a broker? Mm-hmm. Did you go try to do independent?
Yeah.
Kind of talk word of mouth? How did you find, because you want to kind of advertise it as much as possible to get as many offers as you can to have people bidding war, right?
Yep.
So how did you kind of get the word out that you're selling?
Gotcha. We didn't use a broker. We listed it ourselves online, and there's a few different avenues that you can use that are out there. And so the way it worked out was really textbook too. I would say this whole restaurant value add situation was very textbook. Buy it when the culture's bad, things aren't operating right, everything's kind of messed up, and you go and you fix it, and you fix it well, and then you go and you sell it and you flip it. And it was all very textbook. With this sale, it was very textbook too. We had about 2,000 clicks, I think, 1,500, 2,000 clicks of interest. And then we had a number of messages about it. And then we had about 10 people come and tour and see the place. And then we had, I think, 2 or 3 offers. And so we took the best offer from that and we closed on it. And that whole process from listing was, I think, 2 months. So we listed it in late September and we sold on the new year, December 31st. Mm-hmm. And very clean, very, very textbook. Going on that point that I mentioned that I learned so much more from the sale is that the due diligence that these guys went and did to us, I should have done. Like, I just didn't know, but like, it was so fun.
They were asking like thousands of questions to you?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And, you know, we had the answer to all of them and they were all really great answers. But it was just like, man, if I had done this before, if I knew to do this before when I was buying the restaurant, we would have been we kind of overpaid for it. You know what I mean? We just would have been in a better situation.
Because you would have found out certain things knocked up more off the price and stuff.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What did you learn about negotiation? How was the negotiation process?
Sure.
Give and take. Who's got the leverage? Because all negotiation really is who's got the more leverage in the situation, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. The negotiation process was not too long. I guess, you know, the situation we were in, this investment group, they really wanted a pizza place in this market because there's a ton of demand, right? There's, like I think I mentioned, 11 or so pizza places in a 5-mile radius. And so they wanted to get a piece of that. So we kind of knew what we had per se. But I mean, negotiation is just kind of knowing what the other person needs and knowing what you need and then finding a middle ground about it.
Yeah. Awesome. And when you sold, the day after, you're like, what do I do with my life? Like, I was here every single day. That's all I was thinking about.
Yeah.
And now you're just at home, like waking up. What do I do with my life? So how was that transition? Because that's actually something people don't talk about a lot. Is, I don't want to say a depression, but when someone is so involved in something day to day and you sell your business, that's been your life, your baby. It's kind of like a parent having sending their kid off to college. It's like an empty nest kind of thing.
I agree.
You know? And I don't want to say there's like a depression, but there's like a figuring yourself out kind of phase, right? With that, you're like, what's next? How was that transition for you and your brother?
I 100% agree with what you're saying. The transition, they implemented the same sort of thing that we had, right? So like in 2 months, we worked with them and showed them all the process. I don't think I mentioned before, but we made really good ground on making this a model for a franchise. So by the time we sold, we were only working 5 hours a week.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And what I gave them was a binder of all the SOPs, how to do things, the numbers, recipe, and everything with the key on top. And then he gave me a check. And so all he had to do was just open the door. And then the next day you're making money. And that exchange.
Yeah.
So it was very automated towards the end, which is, you know, we got compensated for that. After the fact, you talk about depression. I was never depressed when we walked away from it. But I will tell you that the high that you have when you sell the business, that's your 10. Okay. That's your 10. Everything else is, you can't get past that 10, right? So like,
it's only downhill from there. Yeah.
Your 10's so high that everything else is going to be an 8.
They say you don't want to have too high highs and too high lows. Kind of just keep it the same. You don't want to ever be super, super happy or be super, super depressed. Kind of just keep it.
Yeah.
Level.
So I'm experiencing, I was actually talking about this the other day, those negative effects about it. So if my 10 is here, like I worked my butt off for the last year and a half. It took 16 months to buy and sell and flip this thing every day in and day out. And then you got people, you know, just all about it. The customers, you've got employees, you're kind of mentoring, you got everything. And then I sell it and we make money. That's my 10. So when
you got this big check, you're like, nice.
Yeah. I take pictures of it. Yeah. Throw it around. Yeah. And so nowadays when I go and I buy real estate, that's a pivotal moment in anybody's life. But it's like, I don't have the sweat that I put in when I buy this real estate. I don't get that high.
It's not as active.
No.
It's not as active.
No. So that's like an 8 for me.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, I bought it. Okay. Now I'm going to do this project now. But it's like, it's not what I went through. It's not the 10 that I experienced.
You know, that's what's great about having an active business like that,
Yeah.
there's so many different levers and so many different things you can fix, make better that you're thinking about. Compared to real estate, it's kind of cookie cutter. Like you buy the property, here's the list of the things you renovate, whatever, flip it.
Yeah.
It's not as active
No.
as owning a business is.
Yeah.
So you ended up, did you take a little break, a little hiatus, a little trip after you sold?
I did.
To kind of celebrate?
I did. I didn't do a whole lot to celebrate. There was a family trip that we wanted to do the Grand Canyon for a while. And so it was high time for that. So we took a mini retirement for the next 4-ish months. And that included a trip to the Grand Canyon with, my family, which is fun. I then, wanted another project. I wanted to kind of keep doing this thing.
Did you think about doing kind of the same thing? Maybe not a pizzeria, but buying a business with no systems that's kind of failing in certain areas and flipping it and like building it back up, like kind of the same structure?
Yes. More so nowadays, because it's been, a few years, 3-4 years now. More so nowadays, I kind of want to look into that again. When I sold it, not so much, just because my mind just wasn't there. It just wasn't there. It took about 4 months. I got connected to somebody who was in like the tech space in Chicago, and I ended up co-founding a tech company starting March of 2023. And that was this whole, it's still going on today, but like AI, new company AI. And the reason that this drew me in was it was a mentor and mentee platform to help college graduates get into the industry that they want to. And they would find a mentor on this platform and they would connect with them, because it sounds like LinkedIn, but the data says that a lot of Gen Z and younger do not use LinkedIn, and they view it as an old person website. And so they're having trouble getting into an industry that they want to get into. And so we were trying to solve that problem. So kind of to your point, I didn't necessarily go in and buy another small business, but I did get involved with starting a tech company from like startup level.
Mm-hmm. And then how long did you ride that out for?
That was about 6 months. And I ended up leaving only because that role changed back to a sales role. And tech is very different from restaurant. Really enjoyed my time, and it was very fast paced and it was fun. I was in charge of, you wear a bunch of different hats when you're doing things like this, but I was in charge of the financials and calculating burn rate and what our cash flow is and cost to acquire a customer. And there's a whole like tech department, but it ended up changing to more sales and recruiting. And it's just not what I want to get into. And so I left in August that following year. And I think they're doing pretty good still. But that's kind of what led me to leave.
And you went into, the real estate space like we discussed earlier. Mm-hmm. You bought and flipped a property?
Correct.
So that's like a whole nother thing. It's like starting it's like another business, because you're doing all the construction, everything. How was that learning process through that? Did you have any experience in real estate flipping? How did you kind of learn? Just kind of take it step by step.
No experience in real estate. What I did do, I bought a single family home outside of Dallas, and it was it wasn't necessarily a foreclosure. It was through the Veteran Affairs. Technically it was a foreclosure. It was a little bit weird, but I ended up getting a good price on it. And I did want to get into real estate regardless. And this looked like a really good opportunity to get my foot in the door. And so no experience about it. What did transfer though was a little bit of an employee aspect. So I've had at this point 50 plus people work under me. That transfers over to working with contractors. So they're not my employee, right? I can't direct them or anything. I just, but the way of communicating with them was about equal.
It's like a puzzle. You're just putting the pieces together.
Exactly.
This guy, this guy, this guy.
Exactly.
And managing them, yeah.
Exactly, yeah. And by the grace of God, I was able to make money on that and ended up selling it. I think that took me about 4 months or so, and started my real estate journey there.
Mm-hmm. And now you bought a piece of a plot of land an hour outside of Dallas.
Yep.
and you're working on potentially starting a self-storage business.
Correct.
You want to speak on that?
Yeah. So after I did the residential side, there is a lot more red tape. Well, I wouldn't say red tape. There's a lot more emotion involved, which is a common statement in the commercial world. And I do agree that there's a lot more emotion, and you're which is valid, right? Someone's trying to buy a home from you to live in, and so there's just a lot more emotion involved. I want to get into real estate, the commercial side, because it's more business, it's more lean, and it's more scalable, right?
Yeah.
And I took the money from the single family home and I put it into some land an hour east of Texas, and the goal is to build self-storage there. And one thing about me too is like I don't like to count my chickens before they hatch. And I think I'm still in that mindset right now. There's still a little bit I have to go through.
But it's good to know the numbers a little bit before.
Oh yeah,
you
yeah,
get into
it's good to
something.
know.
Like, am I gonna make money?
If it
Yeah.
helps somebody to learn,
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. So right now I'm in the process of working with working with the city to get site plan approvals, and it turns out there is a demand in the area for self-storage, and I can go through those numbers if you want.
So we were talking off camera before that you found, I would say like an arbitrage opportunity from the population increase of this city in Texas, that they needed more self-storage, that they just weren't being serviced. So
Yes.
how did you get those numbers? How did you get to that conclusion? Why you picked that city?
Sure.
Exactly.
There's a lot of different approaches you can take with self-storage. A lot of different metrics you can play with. Self-storage is a very lean industry in terms of it's a direct correlation between price and supply, demand and supply, even more specific. So in this city, I first looked at the population, and from 2020 till today, it's increased 15%. It's like, okay, so people are moving in. I then will look at the available square footage for rent for what I'm trying to build. And it turns out that there's 126,000 square foot available to rent in this area. And if the population is increased 15%, ideally you want to build an additional 15% of square footage if it's a 1-to-1 ratio. The property that I'm building that I have site plans for is 14,000 square foot roughly, and that serves the existing supply an increase of 12%. So it's almost a direct population and supply increase in that market. You can talk about stats that it's nationally, 11% of homeowners use self-storage. You can calculate that, but the amount of projects that are going in the small town, there's a number of townhomes that are going to be built, and I think roughly 80 or so single-family homes that are going to be coming in. So that's a retroactive perspective looking at the last 5 years. But I already know even if this, even if I come in and I put in 14,000 square foot, it serves the last 5 years, but that doesn't even look at the demand that's going to be in the next 5,
Yeah. And what's the average square footage of each unit, and how many units are you going to have from your plans?
Average square footage is a 10 by 20, so about 200 square foot. Okay. And that's a little bit on the higher end. That's because where this property is close to a lake. And I don't know if you can fit a full-blown boat in a 10 by 20, but you can fit jet skis and other fishing equipment. And the demand for that is through the roof. I looked at the amount of what's leased and what's occupied in the area for my comparables. And so I pulled it from a global self-storage data aggregator. And it turns out that the 10 by 20s are like all full. And the closest 4 facilities, closest to what I'm going to build. And so that tells me that I need a majority of 10 by 20s.
Nice. Yeah. And we were talking off camera before about the positives of self-storage. One, there's very low churn on your customer base. If they buy a storage space, they're most likely not going to, cancel it. If it's like $20 a month, whatever it is, it's a lower cost on their credit card bill than other costs.
Yep.
And even if they use it only for the winter to store their jet skis, they're most likely going to still keep it for the summer because they're not just going to cancel and bring it back. So
Correct.
Is there any other positives you see with that kind of business?
Yeah. The self-storage in itself, you have the real estate component and then you have the business component, and they kind of merge together.
because you make the money off the real estate.
Yeah.
You're renting your business, or you're renting the property to your own business.
Correct.
So you're kind of double dipping a little bit.
A little bit.
Yeah.
And you can say the same for multifamily maybe. So you have the real estate and then you have the income it produces. But self-storage is different because you're retail facing. At least what I'm looking to build is it's retail facing. So you have to advertise, which is fun. You have to build a brand, which is fun.
Yeah.
And so that's the uniqueness about self-storage is you can kind of tweak things. You still have, real estate depreciation, all that good stuff, but you're getting money through a business rather than tenants. Obviously you have tenants, but if I'm painting the picture right enough for everybody that's listening, it's a little bit of both.
And it's also not as high ticket as rent is for multifamily or whatever.
Right.
Because you're only charging what, 20, 50, $100 per space, however big it is.
Yep.
So it doesn't hit the pocketbook of the person as hard,
Exactly.
Now to kind of cap it off, what are the biggest takeaways from all your business experience that you would say you have? Reflecting back on all your time.
Biggest takeaway, I'll do this. I'll do advice. What's been the best for me is having a servant mindset. So whether you're serving the customers or serving your employees, having that mindset and putting others before you has been the best. And 100%, that is what I have to say.
A lot of people, or Alex Thiakos, we talked about him before, and I bring him up probably almost every single podcast because I just love his content. He always talks about, if you want to get customers, give, just keep giving until they ask. Like, you're giving me so much, like, what can I buy from you? Like, what can I give you? They start even so that kind of ties into your point. If you're getting a job, just don't even think about what you get. Just give, serve, and in turn, God made it that way. You will get paid for it,
Yeah. Things will come. Yeah.
And you're very religious, I presume, because you talked about, you had the quote on the Bible verse on your pizza box. How has your faith changed your life?
Well, I would say that it's the start of everything for me. I think if there's any big decision that I have to make, I kind of go back on, who Jesus is and how he would act. It's I would say that, it's sometimes it's hard when you go through hard things. Like, there was really hard times in Pisa Pizza, but Christ is always there for you. He's there when you suffer, because he's a suffering God, right? And there's been times that I've suffered, and I will say that at this point, like, when I'm suffering, that's the closest I feel to God.
Yeah. And he helps you weather that as well, because he's with you in it as well.
Yep.
Great. Well, Phil, I appreciate it. Is there anywhere people can find you on socials? Or
yeah, sure.
You up?
Yeah.
Yeah.
LinkedIn pretty much is the way to go. Just my name, Philip Panopoulos.
Nice. Cool. I appreciate it. Thanks.
Yeah. Thank you.